Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Money in the Law on My FM 101.3 WMRC. Money in the Law is Jay Marston from the Marston Law Group, and I'm John Drowan from Main Effort Financial. The two of us who have been doing this for a number of years now. What we do is we bring things that sometimes aren't the easiest or funnest things to talk about to the forefront of pure enjoyment and entertainment.
Oh, I mean, how much more enjoyment could it be? Talking about estate planning, right? I mean,
One would think
that just screams hysterical, right? Just screams hysterical, and money, and failing to plan for retirement. I mean, again, talking about funny topics that again, if you had this type of dark humor you and I have, it's rolling in the aisle funny.
Everything doesn't have to be funny. It should be, but it could be entertaining. It could be, I guess. Interesting is the word that I'm looking for. So speaking of money.
I just put some back in my pocket there. Hold on, go ahead. Yeah.
I want it to be interesting, and that's what we want. We want for our audience to be interested and to take something away from. So every week when we do our show, and we've been doing it, like I said, for a number of years now. I think over north of 5 years, maybe going on. This is our 6th year, right?
6th year, yeah.
So
that's time.
Every show, we think there is at least one gold nugget that you can take away from the show.
Yep. By the way, we mine it. You get to take it away.
We mine it. We hand it to you. Yep. We hand it to you in the form of radio and television.
Yep. Lifetime advice. And you get to take that nugget and you get to walk out of the mine, and we go back to work.
Back in the mine. We're like 2 of the 7 dwarfs. I don't know which one. Doc.
Oh, Sleepy. Send us an email. Tell us which ones you think we are.
So what we're asking for you is that if there is anything that you would like us to talk about, because we have to kind of think of our own things to talk about.
Yeah.
So if there's anything that you would like to hear, please go to your computer or to your smartphone or what other type of device where you can get on the interweb, and you go to www.moneyinthelaw.net. Go to moneyinthelaw.net, and you can reach us there, and you can send us information. Say, this is what we would like for you to talk about. Pretty much there's no subject that's I'm sure there's some subjects that could be FCC regulated.
Yeah, I think the government does have some standards. Right. We don't, but the government does have some standards. Our standards are different. That's a different story. That's right.
And Holliston Cable Access, who is also gracious enough to film us and put us on the air.
Much higher standards.
Well,
than we do.
Yeah, and we have somewhat of an obligation, being as citizens of the town of Holliston, and you being an elected official, me being on the board of it, we probably shouldn't do anything that is going to be embarrassing to either us.
That's right.
Or to
confrontational.
And which is why we would never do that. So
that's right.
Back to moneyinthelaw.net. Reach out. Send us what you want us to talk about. And if you have a question about anything, Jay and I have the uncanny ability to take one small piece of information and turn it into a 48-minute show. And which a lot of it will be us laughing and telling jokes and telling stories to one another.
Well, the ability to take a tiny topic that should probably take about 5 minutes and stretch it into 48 minutes of entertaining radio gold, that's a gift, okay? That's a gift, right? Not everybody has that gift, right? But some people have it, some people don't. We happen to have it. So we can take some tiny little nugget of information and stretch it out, right? Talking about our 2 favorite subjects, money in the law, and us. That's 3 subjects. Money in the law and us. That's right. That's right.
And we did mention Holliston Cable Access TV, and once again we are joined by none other than Christian Bidet, who, Christian, you're never on the air, you're never on the radio. You're like this. People say, what is this Christian
Greatness
thing?
Behind the scenes. Greatness behind the scenes.
He's silent. He never says a word. It's almost like he can't speak. Like he's that guy who just, like from the Hunger Games, like the guy who can't talk, right? But he's super smart. He's super tech savvy. Today he turned on the actual WMRC.
In addition to mastering the imagery, he made the magic happen from a radio perspective.
He's like the only guy actually in this room who knows what's going on. So, Christian, you're not allowed to be on TV, right?
No, actually, he wants no part.
No. He's holding his hands up. He's almost like the teacher from Snoopy from Peanuts, right there.
You never see her, but you know his presence is there.
That's right. He's there. So, Christian, we just want to make a special thanks and make a point because he's here. He has to listen to us for the whole
It's been
15 minutes.
It's been a spiritual moment, like he's in the background. He's in the room. He's everywhere, but you don't see him. But he's making stuff happen. Right? It's kind of a spiritual thing.
It's not like he participates. He's there.
He's a higher power. He's the higher power.
Right. He's above us.
Yeah,
right.
He's
He's at a different level. All right. So Christian, thanks again for all the hard work you do, and special thanks to Holliston Cable Access TV. He's given us the thumbs up, kind of the token thumbs up.
Yeah,
like,
that wasn't his thumb.
Enough about
wasn't
me.
his thumb, but
Let's
that's
get
all right.
this
Yeah,
rolling.
that's right. So what are we talking about today? What's on your mind?
Well, I again, with our practice, all roads lead to retirement.
Sure
all roads. So we've talked about kind of the number of different retirement vehicles that are out there, and we talked about we again in past shows, and we talk about it every day in the practice is that, there's never a time when people say, oh, I feel like I've saved too much. I feel like I've saved too much money, but at the same time, there's a way to do it, and I think it's more of like a timing issue. So what I wanted to talk about today is kind of like, if you talk about like the rhythm of people's lives, like from like when they first they first hit the workforce, right?
Sure.
I'm a single person. I hit the workforce. I'm living in Charlestown. I'm living the dream. And then they kind of go to the next stage of life. What a lot of people do, where they meet somebody, they get married, and then they say, well, this 1-bedroom studio is too small for us and our new twins, so we have to
making a move,
right? So then and so on and so forth until they kind of get into as they approach their golden years and get to that golden standard where they actually do retire. And for those young people, it's like it's a lifetime away, but. We always say, well, you can't really save too much. You can't save too much. But when you talk to somebody, think about yourself, right? Think about, and you have, and we've talked about this before because I know you have some good ideas on this. Is that so? When I first come out of school and I first hit the workforce, and I'm like, okay, I finally have money, right?
Sure.
I finally have some assets. Where do I save that, and kind of in what proportion do I save that? Because I know people who came out of school and the first thing they did is like, oh, what's my best retirement vehicle that I can save in? Do I have an employer-sponsored plan? Do I have this new 401 something or other thing, right?
Yeah.
I can put money into that, or can I put, or if I don't have access to that, I can put money into this IRA thing, right? This or this Roth IRA thing, right? So. I'm introduced to this. Luckily, fortunately, if I'm smart enough, I get introduced to these things. Then I say, well, how much can I put into this? And some people they get it, right?
Oh, they jump on it. They load up. Yeah, they load up.
And 10, 15 years, you kind of these people, and they have a significant kind of nest egg built up,
Sure.
for when they get to that next phase of their life, that I'm buying my second house, I'm out of my starter home into kind of more of my permanent home. I have children. I'm starting to think about maybe maybe we make enough money where my wife or my husband can stay home, and we're in that phase, and a lot of times those people have good amount of money in their retirement, right? They have a significant amount of savings.
They have a significant amount of savings in their retirement account if they jumped on that. I'm gonna whatever the number was at the time, right? I'm gonna max out my 401k, right? They walked into the HR department day one of their job, and they were like, yeah, what's the max percentage? It's 10%. Doesn't matter what I make. I'm gonna max out my 401k. They check that box. They put the paperwork in, and then they forget about it, right? And they, the market cooperates. But the important thing is, it's getting that money on the table early on so that the power of compounding can go to work and let that thing roll,
exactly.
right?
So,
and that's how you get there.
So that's the right answer, but is that the common answer? I will argue, no, it's not the common. And most people don't do that.
No, I think you're right.
Most people don't. Most people, and not in the sense that they weren't
led astray.
No, they weren't. It's not they were led astray. It's not they made mistakes. It's just that maybe there were other factors that take place. So that's what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about, okay, no matter where you are, because this is like the beginning phase. And let's say you're the person who didn't put money into your 401k or as much as you could when you were in your early 20s, and then you're approaching 40, and you see these people, right? There's people that have maybe I've changed jobs a couple times.
Right.
I had to take money out of my 401k. So let's say maybe they have like $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 in retirement. Like, whoa. But my peers, my buddy, my brother, they have so much more money than me for whatever the reason. So I guess my point is wherever you are, wherever phase you are, kind of in that rhythm of life, there's always a priority list of how do I save, where do I save first. Oftentimes that savings is going to be, again, if you're talking to us at Main Effort Financial, we'll always err on the side of retirement.
Oh, well, we've talked about this on the show 1,000 times, and then we'll go to a quick break and we'll follow up on it. But to your point, you can't borrow for your retirement. And what's the worst that happens? If you save too much for your retirement, guess what you get to do? You get to give it to your kids, right? I get to give it to somebody, right? You get to give it to your kids.
Yeah.
So you'd rather have it to give away than not have it and say, geez, I'd love to be able to do something for my kids, but I can't do it. I got to stay working or whatever I have to do. So let's take a quick break, and then we'll come back and we'll kick this concept around a little bit.
We'll be right. We'll talk about wherever you are. We'll give you some ideas to think about where to prioritize in your savings.
Sharpen up the pencil.
Or
a pen. Don't sharpen the pen, but
do
yeah,
not
take one out.
sharpen the pen. All right, Money in the Law, My FM 101.3. We'll be right back.
And we're back. My FM 101.3,
Always
Jay
funny.
Marsden, Money in the Law. My good friend John Drohan, Main Effort Financial, Jay Marsden, Marsden Law Group.
Taking some
Christian
notes.
Manning the Con. Take some notes. We're going to talk about some important stuff today.
Notes.
Before the break, we were talking about this idea of kind of I think you were describing them as milestones, right? There's like sort of savings milestones. Is that what you're thinking about? Where you get to it?
In the military vernacular, we call them decision points.
There you
so
go.
they're
Nice.
so you're on your route towards your objective, right? And there's going to be places that are specifically put on the map that this is a DP. This is a decision point. So here I have to decide one way or the other. I have to say, okay, at this point, am I going to go towards the high ground, or am I going to head down towards the river? And there's reasons, and every decision point there's reasons of kind of for
Pros and cons, right?
which way your decision is going to carry you.
Nice. Okay. All right. So DP it away there, big guy.
Okay. So as we were saying, in wherever you are, kind of in your life, you can kind of look at it and say, okay, here I am. Here's my situation. And we have our income, we have our expenses, we have our children, we have our future plans, but everything at some point we are going to have some form of a retirement. And some people say, well, we're never going to retire, That's not necessarily true. Everybody has some kind of retirement, whether their retirement may be forced on them and that they no longer can work because they physically can't, or because they lose their job, or for whatever reason. You have to get somewhere. You have to get to a place where you're not going to be doing what you're doing now, right?
Well, to your point, I mean, think about it, right? I mean, you're either going to voluntarily stop, right? Mm-hmm. You're going to say, you know what, we think we have enough money in the bank, right? Or we figured it out, we crunched the numbers, and we know we have enough money, or something's going to happen, right? There'll be some physical illness or ailment or some type of life event that's going to, whether it's by life event, I mean, the job says, hey, we're moving everybody to North Carolina. Mm-hmm. Oh, you're not coming? Okay, great. Good luck. Thanks. Here you go. See you later.
Why don't you
right?
want to go?
Yep. Or something's going to happen where you're going to say, I can't do that job anymore.
Yep.
I can't go to work anymore. I physically don't have the skills to do it anymore.
Or other things, right? Let's say one of your children, one of your adult children has kids who they need help with, right? You can't move because maybe you have a grandchild that's special needs and they really need you, or something like that.
Maybe your spouse has health issues,
exactly.
right? That forces your hand. So these are things that you're not going to have control over.
All right, so my point is, here we go. So wherever I am, kind of in that, at some point I want to get towards retirement, but there's always going to be things kind of in the way. There's going to be not, I shouldn't say in the way. There's going to be milestones. There's going to be things that are going to happen between now and my retirement. So we always say, well, in the beginning of the show, we're talking about, well, if I'm coming out of school, the best thing I can do is max out my retirement. But think about it. So if I'm at that decision point, right? Let's say you and I, we both graduated college and we're both working at the same place.
Yep.
And let's say we live next door. We live together, right? Let's say we're like four roommates from college.
Which is very typical, right? A bunch of guys go work at a firm somewhere and they're all looking for an apartment, so they share the cost.
And then so they're there, and then like, okay, so now at that point, what's my savings priority? What's my savings priority at that point? Obviously, if I'm smart, if I can afford it, and I'm shrewd enough, then I'm going to try and put as much money towards retirement. But what does retirement look like at that point?
Well, having done this, and I'm sure you
Yeah.
did too, having done exactly this scenario, right? And I was fortunate enough to work at a firm that was a financial services firm. So every conversation surrounding you was about retirement.
Well, that's right. So
Right?
you were exposed to it.
That's
Yeah.
right. So you are absolutely exposed to it, and you're not exposed to it. You're indoctrinated in it about the importance of maxing out your retirement, right? So I feel like at that stage of the game where it's you and a couple of buddies and you're sort of living the bachelor pad lifestyle, I feel like at that point it's not about drinking from the fire hose. It's about using the fire hose, right?
Sure.
This is about just fill the bag up, right?
Yep.
Put as much money, forget the details, forget thinking about retirement because you can't conceptualize it at that stage of the game.
It's such a fuzzy picture,
Oh
right?
my
Yeah.
God, you can
And
hear about
nor
it.
do you want to, right?
No, you're 25. You're living the dream. You want to rent a house in Newport for the
Yeah.
summer. That's your plan. You can
Yeah.
care less about retirement, right? But I think at that point, we've talked about at the beginning of the show, it's really about, let's see, which number withdrawal from my paycheck is the highest number. And I think, again, you circle that number and you move on, right?
Yeah.
That's it. Because once you circle that number, that becomes the number. You don't have to circle it again, right? If it's 10%, 12%, 13%, and there's a company match, that's it. That's the ticket
So
right there.
So what's the counter argument to that? What would make me not do that? Other than being flippant about it or being like irresponsible.
Well, let's say you were responsible about it. The responsible answer to that would be, yeah, but my goal is to buy a place.
Ah, there you go.
Right? My goal is to have a roof over my head, whether it's a condo, whether it's a townhouse, whether it's
Especially
an actual
after living with
home.
these three jamokes for the last year and a half.
Oh, you'd be desperate for your own place, right? So what you're going to say is,
Why, do I have to share a bathroom with three dudes? What
by
would
the
that
way-
be like?
By the way, there's no cleaning products in this entire place, right? There's not even
Right.
soap, right?
Right.
You know?
No,
that's
you don't
right.
need
That's
that.
Right. That's
No.
right. Think back for all of you who did do this. Think about if you would even spend the weekend in your first apartment with your buddies, right?
No.
The answer is no. Okay, that's what the answer
Going
is.
home.
Right?
Going home
That's
to
right.
take a shower.
That's right. You'd rather shower at the Mobile.
Yeah.
Okay, you're not going back to stay with your buddies and live in that apartment ever again. So the idea is that you say to yourself, well, if I put all my money in my retirement account, which by the way is 100 years from now, right? I'm not going to have any money to
100.
buy a car or to buy a house or to rent the place in Newport, right?
Right.
I'm not going to have that. So I don't care about that.
And I'm living in the city, right? So
That's right.
it ain't cheap living in the
No.
city, right?
So
Like,
those
it's
are
not
your
like-
challenges.
It's not like I'm living on a college campus where, where money seems to go a lot further, right?
Yes, that's right.
If I'm living in Charlestown and I'm going out in Boston on Wednesday night after work, Thursday night after work, Friday night after work.
Yep, that's right. That's right.
Saturday because I worked on Saturday.
Saturday for brunch, then go out after brunch.
Right.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
And back to that kitchen that you're living in, right? There's actually no cooking that's happening in that kitchen.
There's not even any pots or pans.
The microwave might work, but you probably don't want to put anything in that. So
Yeah,
you're
heating
eating
up
out.
takeout.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So
You're eating out. Yeah.
every time, every day. So and that costs money. So at that point, you're like, well, okay, I need money. I need money for that, right? And I need money for like those other things. Like, well, wait a minute. At some point, if I'm like at some point, there's a voice talking to me saying, you're not going to live here forever. Although your buddies may not hear that. Like their voice may not. They may be
They might shout that
This
down.
is the way it is, right?
Yeah, that's right.
What are you talking about? This is the best, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but there's some people out there that are like, at some point this has got to end.
Right.
And probably sooner rather than later.
Someone's going to get engaged. Okay? Somebody's going to get engaged, and the house of cards falls apart.
That's right.
That's what happens.
That's
right.
right.
And then there's like the last person standing who nobody wants to invite to the wedding for all the obvious reasons.
Obvious
That
reasons.
was usually me. Right. Let's not invite just him. Let's find him a chaperone.
That's right.
That's right.
That's
Don't
right.
let him go unleashed.
Right.
But you're right. That's the idea. So you think to yourself, this is going to go on forever. And you're living for the moment, right? You're living for the moment.
Which is okay. And we tell our clients that. I'm like, because I tell them, I'm like, look, all right, here you are, because they'll be like, what should I do? Like a 25-year-old really responsible kid will be like, what should I do? I should save money. I'm like, yeah. You absolutely, it's great. As much as you can afford to save towards your retirement, but it's also really important right now that you do this, that you have fun,
Yeah.
that you're single, you don't and not in like a you gotta like sow your wild oats or you got to like, get it out of your system. It's not that at all. It's that you're not, because we know, right? Because at some point, this is going to end. You're not going to be 25. You're going to be 35, and with the grace of God, you've met somebody, and maybe you're now married, and you're going to have way more responsibility than you do right now.
Oh, and guess what else you're going to have way more of?
What?
Money.
Yeah, you're going to have more money.
Your career's going to move, right?
Yep.
So I would make this. My approach would be, I would say lead, even though retirement's a million years away. I would say lead with the retirement funding.
Absolutely.
Right? Because of that power of compounding we talked about before, right? Putting 10, 20, 30 grand away the first couple of years you're out of the gate for school, that has a huge impact, right? And it's hard to make that time up and the benefits that you get. So I would say focus on that and don't sweat out the fact that you don't have a lot of money for a house. You don't have a lot of money for a condo. Focus on the power of compounding and getting that money away for retirement. We'll fix the second part at the right time. But right now, that's not the time to do it.
So here's another the secret that the people at the Green Mutual Fund Company don't talk about too much, or the financial planners of the world, is with most of these 401k thingamajiggies or these IRA, these IRAs, Roth IRAs. I'm joking. I'm being kind of like funny about it. Yeah, is that you can take money out of those things before you hit age 59 and a half.
That's right. Now, they'll all tell you, first of all, they'll scream around of the room when you suggest it, right? Because that's what's not supposed to happen.
As will I, as will you. We'll be like, hey, look, we're not. This isn't a bank account.
We're not advocating for that.
No. This isn't a bank account. But so let's play this out. So if let's say I'm a kid, I'm 24 years old, I come out and I start maxing out my 401k. I'm putting right now I can put in $19,000 a year into my 401k, and I can afford to do it, and I can afford to buy a car, and I can afford to pay rent to this crappy Southie apartment that I'm living in or wherever. And I'm loading it up, right? And I'm investing smart, right?
It's growing.
I have a good, right? And let's say five years from now, I'm at a place where, like, you know what? I think I might want to buy a place, or I really want to buy a place.
Sure.
I really want to buy a place. So, and let's say I have $10,000 saved up in in my bank, and all I got is my 401k, and I have let's say I have $100,000 in my 401k or $80,000 in my 401k. What can I do? What do most 401ks allow you to do? They allow you to take a loan off your 401k, right?
Yeah.
So again, we're not saying that that's the textbook answer.
Yeah, not the gold standard.
No, it's not the gold standard. But what you've done is you've kind of put yourself in a position where you've started saving for retirement, because the way we describe that, the way we kind of play this out is we say, look, if you put this money in a 401k, or if you put this money even better into a Roth IRA, right, or as another savings vehicle, you may get 5 years from now, you may be in a position where you don't need to take any of that money. You may say, you know what? Look, here's what I can do. What are my options, right? Maybe I was in the military, maybe I can get a VA loan, maybe I don't have to put 20% down for a loan.
First-time home buyer loan, some of the deal with that, right?
Or maybe my old man's was hiding money from me for the last 20 years, and he says, oh, by the way, here's 50 grand, which me and your mother saved up. We didn't help you pay for college. Here's 50 grand that we were going to give you for your first house.
Oh, and by the way, mom and dad helping you out with a piece of property, that's become the sort of the very sort of normal thing. I mean, I wouldn't bank on it, right? But they're willing to do it, right? They get it. They're making an investment in the kid. You get a good head on your shoulders. You're trying to make a decision. If they can help you out, they'll help you out.
The real reason they're doing it is because there's a radius. There's a radius of where they're going to help you. Like if you want to move to like Kentucky or buy your first place there, no, there's no money. But if you want to move to say Mendon,
want to keep you close. Want to keep you close.
Oh yeah.
That's right.
You're looking at a place in Hopedale. Guess what? Look at this.
We can do that.
I'm gonna have a little extra money. Yeah,
that's right.
We can help you do that. Yeah.
That's right.
They know what they're doing.
But you're gonna make more money, right? Feed the 401k as much as you can at this stage of the game, right? Because it really does. It makes a huge difference. We're not going to get into the numbers. The numbers don't matter. The concept is the important part, which is this is really where you can make some real gravy, right? You put some money in and you get that thing rolling, and then part two is to figure out, all right, how do I build up my taxable portfolio to allow me to be in a position to do some of these things? And that will happen. That will come together. But you got to make the priority to the retirement piece first, and then if there's something left over, then we'll put. Well,
your line, I hear it, and it makes a lot of sense. It's like you can't make up that time, right?
No.
And that's what it is, right? So if I invest something 20 years ago, I have the whatever my market performance has given me over the past 20 years, good or bad, but we assume that at some point that overall it's going to be good. So I have that I have my money kind of working for me. If I start investing 20 years later, in order to get the same amount of money, what do I have to do? I have to invest so much more money, right?
I got to work a whole hell of a lot more.
Exactly.
Yes.
So that time, that ability to have that money working for you for that longer period of time, you're not going to be able to get that back. No one can get the time back.
No.
The time. So if you're in a position to do that, then like I said, we're always going to err on the side of, let's put more money towards retirement, because if you need it, there's a way you can get it, but we'd rather not. But at the same time, I can't recreate that 10 years from now.
No, you can't. And you know what? And again, we've talked about it a bunch of times in the show. I know you think it's a million years away, but it's not a million years away.
Take it
and
from
if you're 25, trust me, I know you don't think it's going to happen. You will wake up and you're 40. All right. And by the way, it flies by. Yeah. So again, all the things that people tell you, everything that's stitched into a pillow somewhere, it's all true. And once that ball gets rolling, yes, living in the Southie with the buddies, that's a great deal, right? That's time you'll never get back. I'm with you on that. But once life starts happening, right? Once you start getting into this whole we're
start
committed
sitting at the grown-up table.
That's right. That's exactly right. That's a different animal, and that time goes by. You pick your head up, you're like, whoa. Yeah. Whose kids are these, first of all? And where did that 15 years go? And how did I get, this is not my beautiful wife. This is not my beautiful house. This is not my beautiful family, right? How does that happen,
right? Words of David Byrne, right?
That's exactly right. So that does happen, everybody. But getting in front of this retirement thing, I'm telling you, what's the average amount of money in a retirement account in the U.S.? It's like
under
50. It's like 55 grand, right? It's not a lot of money, right?
$100,000.
If you jump on this 401k maximized retirement account thing, you'll wake up at 40 and you'll have a pile of dough in your 401k, and then that pile of dough is going to earn another pile of dough, right? So it's really important to get in front of this. The house stuff, all that stuff. Again, remember, if the goal is that you're at some point going to meet somebody and get on the path with somebody else hand in hand, then guess what? Then you're pooling your resources, right? Mm-hmm. And then you're going to have twice as much money to save. You might be in a position to save how many of your friends did you know where they tell you a story like, well, we bank all of so-and-so's salary. Right?
Yeah.
That happens. I know it sounds crazy, but that happens. You'll be in a position where somebody says, we're both young professionals. We both work really hard. We're committed. Now it's a team effort, right? It doesn't matter who buys dinner. We're in this thing together. And guess what? We're living off of my salary, and we're banking this person's salary. Yeah. Oh, and guess what? And they're still putting money away for retirement too. So you'll get there. It'll happen. That's usually how you see that play out in most scenarios, if you're lucky.
If
right. You're lucky.
We're going to take a quick break. I was just thinking, as you were saying that, I'm like, well, that's probably why the polygamy laws are in effect, because those 4 guys that are living in Southie, somebody may have gotten the idea hey, let's all 4 get married.
Yeah, that's right.
Let's pool ours. And now you can't do that. Not in this country.
Not here.
No,
not here.
Not in this state. All right, we'll be right back on Money in the Law on My FM 101.3, Holliston Cable Access TV, talking about your decision points in your life plan, erring on the side of retirement. We'll be right back.
And we're back. My FM 101.3. Jay Marsden, Marsden Law Group, John Drohan, Main Effort Financial, Money in the Law, Christian Man in the Con, and we're talking about decision points, touch points along the pre-retirement glide path. And we're talking about the importance of the power of compounding, tax-sheltered money.
You love talking about the power of compounding. You're a compound fan.
Well, I love it for all the obvious reasons. I mean,
your love of compounding has compounded since we started the show.
Well, I'll give you an example. I've had some clients come in. They say, "Hey, look, we got to, this comes up all the time, right? Especially you have people who are very successful. They come in and they say, "Hey, Jay, we got a mortgage. It's $300,000, right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. And we have $300,000 in the bank. And
pay it off. Why wouldn't you pay it off?
Are you saying pay it off?
I'm playing along. I'm
right.
being the client, right?
That's
what he
they
said.
want to do. I want to get rid of the mortgage, right?
Right?
They're so hot to trot to get rid of the mortgage. And then I usually say to them, okay, let's think about this, right? I said, so you get $300,000 in the bank, you get a $300,000 mortgage at 3.8%, 4%, whatever the number is, right? Because rates have been so low. And you've got this $300,000. And yes, the power of compounding. Market goes up 10%, you make $30,000. right? How hard are you going to have to work to make 30 grand? Well, first of all, you're going to have to make more than 30 because Uncle Sam's going to have his hand up, right?
You betcha.
So you're going to have to make probably 60 or 50 grand and then pay him off the top to put 30 in the bank. Or you know you can pay your mortgage off tomorrow if you had to write a check. So leave the 300 alone. Let it grow, because if the planets line up and it works out for you, in 7 years it's 600, right? So, and what do you have to do? Nothing.
Right,
Absolutely nothing.
And that's the thing, right? So the trade-off is so I'm going to invest my money as opposed to paying down my debt, right? But remember, with invest comes risk, right? So with invest,
Sure.
so am I going to double my money in 10 years? No, there's no guarantee.
No guarantees,
no
yep.
guarantee. I mean, depending upon my investment, especially if I'm in the market. So there's that, right? There's the I don't know if I'm going to actually compound, because no one can predict the future.
There could be a 10-year window like we saw after '08, where the market, the S&P was basically flat for a 10-year window, and your money just kind of ran in place.
Yeah.
But along the way, you were picking up shares, you were doing these other things, and your money was there for you. And again, you obviously, you went down quite a bit, and you were like, oh my God. But as long as you're paying off your mortgage, it is debt, but it's not consumer debt.
Well, that's
right?
yeah, and that's another
You're moving
argument
towards
as well,
something,
right? That's another argument as well, because then I'll always argue on the side of liquidity, and that I like to have money.
Yep.
I like to have money because guess what? I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I don't know what I'm going to need money for. And Mike D'Anzaris, the man who brought me into the business, used to describe it like this. It was great. He'd say, "Yeah, you can pay off your mortgage." He said, "And then you know what? Tomorrow, if you need $30,000, and guess what? You can go get it. What you got to do is you're going to go to the bank that you just wrote a $300,000 check to, and you're going to say, 'Hey, listen, I need to take some money back.'" And they're like, "Oh, absolutely. Go ahead. Go down the hall to the loan department.
Yeah.
And
fill
then
out some more paperwork.
Yep, and then you're going to
take
maybe
a
we'll
loan
give it to
out,
you. Right?
Maybe we'll give it to you.
We'll give it to you, but you're going to pay for it, and it's
Yep.
going to cost you."
Yeah,
So,
I agree with you. I'd rather have the money in the bank. I'd rather have that all day long. And then again, congratulations, you could pay your mortgage off tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're making a conscious decision not to, in favor of we'd rather have the liquidity and hopefully get some compounding
that's
out of
another
it.
great decision point, right? So that's oftentimes that's a decision point as people start approaching they start like seeing kind of the barn of retirement, right? As they get closer, because as part of retirement, as part of like the retirement planning, what we'd love to see it like kind of a streamlined cost, a streamlined budget, where if I don't have any more debt, that'd be great, right? If I don't have any more mortgage debt, if I don't have any second home debt, if I don't have any consumer debt, student loans or things like that. So into retirement, I'd like to have no debt, right?
Right.
So at that point, let's say we're you're a successful 52-year-old person. You're not going to retire, right? You're not getting ready to retire. You have kids that still have to go to college, but you have the money to pay off your loan. You've been fortunate enough. You've saved up enough non-tax or after-tax money where you could pay off your loan. Then it's a conscious decision at that point to say, no, I'm not going to do that, because for reasons that Jay just listed, A, B, C, and D. I might need money later on. If I do that, what exactly am I saving, right? Or do I have the potential to make more money with my money if I leave it invested, right?
Well, we've talked about this in the show before. Good debt, bad debt, right? And we've talked about. I'm a huge fan of the idea that you want to build as best you can. In addition to your tax-deferred retirement money, you want to build a taxable portfolio. I'm not saying it's got to be $1 million.
Jay loves paying taxes.
I'm not saying it's got to be. No. I'm saying it's got to be. But again, the trap that you want to try to avoid. Let me say it this way: the trap that you want to try to avoid is that you put all your liquidity eggs in the retirement basket, right? So again, if you can, to the best of your ability, in addition to maxing out your retirement account for the tax reasons.
And I think that's the important piece, is that I'm going to put as much as if I'm liquid enough, right? If I'm making my cash flow allows me to do it, I'll load up my retirement to the maximum, and there's a maximum. That's why there is a maximum, right?
That's right.
To the maximum that I can before I then went to the taxable piece, for the reason of I don't pay taxes on any of my gains,
That's
or
right.
or I'm not paying taxes on that money. So again, now we're kind of talking about an apple and an orange. About, yes, of course I want to defer my taxes as long as the law will allow me to do that. But Jay's right. So if I have additional money, once I've done that, and I want to invest and I want to save money, that money I've already paid taxes on, right? That after tax money, That's great to have. And it's great to have not only right now, kind of before age 59 and a half, right? But it's also great after I retire. Why?
Well, because you're going to use it for the same thing. You're going to use it for retirement, right? And we've talked about this in the show before. It's people confuse the concept. People struggle with the concept that they know. Well, that says IRA, right? That says individual retirement account. So that is money for retirement. I know that's retirement money. But guess what? If you have $500,000 in your joint brokerage account and you need 50 grand a year to supplement your income in retirement, you could take it from that account.
Sure.
That is also retirement money. It's just not tax sheltered retirement money. It's all retirement money.
That's right. So
your house is retirement money. Those are all assets.
Let's say we get to the retirement finish line and we're there, right? So and think about this, and again, back to my tax argument. So if I have, let's say I'm fortunate enough, I've saved $1 million in my 401k. That's pre-tax money. What happens when I take money out of that account? Every dollar I take out of that, I'm paying income tax on.
Yes, you are.
I'm paying. So let's say I have $1 million in my 401k, and let's say I have $300,000 in a joint that joint after-tax account, right? That Jay just described, right? So if I could take, let's say I need to have, we'll make up some number. Let's say I need to take $50,000 a year out of my 401k, but I need another $10,000. I need more money. I need more money. Guess what? I take $50,000 out of my 401k. I pay taxes on all $50,000 of that. I take $10,000 out of my joint account. What am I doing? I'm not paying taxes on that.
No.
It's after tax.
You might pay a little capital gains tax, but nowhere near what you're going to pay on that.
But I'm not paying on principal that I take out.
That's right.
Because there may be gains, but other than that money's already been taxed. So and then of course there's the other one, right? There's the other after tax, the after tax, which is, and you didn't know that in 2019 this is the year of the Roth. So if I were fortunate enough to have a Roth IRA, that's part of that as well.
All day
then
long.
remember, my Roth IRA, everything that comes out of that is also tax free. So, this whole concept of, as I'm saving and prioritizing where I save, Jay and I both agree on this. We'll always the top priority will always be to save in those tax-friendly retirement vehicles, right? After that, if I still have the ability to save, if I can save outside of a tax-friendly vehicle, because what do I get? I don't get the tax benefit, but I get the flexibility, and I'm not restricted as to anything or any time when I can use that money.
Well, and to your point, it's always there and it's always available for you. And we've talked about this as part of portfolios before. Even if just getting that money out of your bank account into a brokerage account that you don't see, or that you don't see in front of you every day, or that you can't hit the ATM for a Tuesday night, you're in town at the Sox game and you're like, I'm going to get taken. No, it's out of sight, out of mind. And before you know it, you'll say to yourself, you know what, we get 10 grand. We save 10 grand in our brokerage account. How do we do it? By hook or by crook, but it's there, right? And now, and we've talked about this before, all of a sudden you say to yourself, I like having 10 grand in my brokerage account. Actually, what I really like to have is 20 grand in my brokerage account. So how do I get to 20? And then it becomes then you really start to think about, before I part with the 20, am I going to part with it at all, right? And then you go back to this whole idea of, well, we need a new car. Do we pay cash for it? Oh, wait a minute. They're going to give me 0% for 72 months or 60 months. Sure, I'll play with their money instead of my money. And then this is how you get that wealth, momentum building, where now you've got a retirement account or a retirement portfolio. Now you've got a taxable portfolio. Now you've got real estate. Right now, you're really starting to put the pieces together. And it wasn't a heavy lift to do it, but it's about starting early. That's the piece of it.
Yeah. So the getting back to that that decision point. So we've kind of talked about the retirement. So if we start doing that early, and then we talked about the kind of the saving for liquidity, but kind of in between there, kind of the big elephant in the room is what happens kind of in and around that 29, 30, 31 year time frame. What do a lot of people do, or they really want to do at that point? And it's kind of, and it's often said, this is the biggest thing you have. This is your biggest expense. This is your biggest. Yeah, it's that house, right? It's that real estate. It's that house. It's that condo. It's that first time maybe you just got married and you're like, yep, we're gonna have our own place. Or you're not married and you're like, I want to buy a place and I want to, and maybe I'll use it as an investment property. Maybe maybe it's a triple decker, and I'll live in it and rent out the other space. I use it as an income property or whatever. But it's that real estate investment. So, that's another. So that's the big decision point where a lot, in the financial planning world, say, okay, well, if I'm instead of directing money towards retirement, say at this point, or say for the next, year or 2 years, because I know I have to save for, I know I really want to buy real estate. So, and I know I need to put a down payment for this real estate. This is where the idea of planning becomes so important, because you may, at that point, you may, with the help of maybe with a planner, or maybe you can figure this out on your own, but you may say, okay, look, I'm 29 years old. For the next 2, and I've been putting $19,000 a year away into my 401k since I started working. Now, I know that I want to buy real estate, and I know I have $5,000 in the bank. I know what I can afford. I know I know what kind of mortgage I can get. I know how expensive a property I'd like to get. So I say, look, if I save, if I save $30,000, like over the next 2 years, then I'll be right in that window. So where does that money come from? That may be one of those times where you say, look, okay, this is really what I want. It's another form of investment, right? And as Jay said, everything's kind of like everything could eventually help you or be a direct or indirect retirement investment, right?
Everything you purchase, real estate, retirement account money, taxable money, it all becomes cash at some point.
Yeah, not cars.
Whether you do it or somebody else does it,
sure.
At some point it becomes cash.
Yeah. So at that point you may say, and if you're talking to us or you're talking to Jay, we may say, okay, look, here's what happens. Here's what happens if you stop putting money in your 401k, or if you reduce the amount of money you put in your 401k right now, because there's no other means for you to save money, right? So you say, here's what happens. Here's what the projection looks like based on whatever hypothetical models, that if you put in $30,000 less in your 401k in 20 years, this is what it's going to look like. And is that going to be correct? Is that going to be accurate? Who knows? It's an estimate, right?
Well, first of all, it's a starting point, right?
Yeah, it's an estimate. But one can make the argument that if I put $30,000 less into my 401k than you did, and in 20 years, then you're going to have more than me.
Yes, that is correct.
I mean, all things remain equal, that we invested the same way, right? So you have more money than me. So obviously that's you make that's a reasonable assumption. But then you say, okay, if I do that, now my other investment goal, right, is I want to own property. I want to own my own house. My wife says she can't live with my 3 friends anymore in Charlestown or in Southie, so we have to buy our own place.
Yeah.
And here we go. So we redirect that money to saving, right? To saving. Maybe we're saving it in a bank. Maybe we have enough time that we feel like we can assume a little risk on it, and maybe we can put it in that taxable brokerage account because it's liquid, right? There's liquidity. Or we may go the other route and we may say, look, 2 years from now, 2 years is a long time. A lot can happen. Maybe Dad's going to give me that money. Maybe I'll get a raise.
Yeah,
Maybe I'll get a bonus. Maybe I'll get a different job. Especially like kind of that age, it's easy to move around. Maybe at that. So what I'll do is I'm going to keep putting money into my 401k. I'm going to keep doing that because you know what? So long as I have that 401k, and I've talked to the HR people and they say, can I take a loan off my 401k? Yes, you can. So I'm going to say, all right, at that point, if I get 2 years from now, and I don't have the money to put a down payment, and I really want to buy a house, and I found the place that I want to buy, then I'm at another decision
But
point.
again, you'll have joined forces, right? You'll have not one income, you'll have 2 incomes.
Yeah,
right?
but what if you marry somebody who's got like, I don't know, a couple $100,000 of not credit card debt, of like student loan debt, right? Then there's that issue as well.
Break up with them. Break up, run away, delete that person from your phone, get them out of there, take them off your Match.com profile. Actually, make that part of your Match.com profile. You have very specific loan limits of which you'll deal with.
Something tells me that Kim Marsden did not come with a big dowry when you married her.
No.
Yeah, so I was going to, so right now, no.
But she didn't walk in the door with a pile of baggage that says, oh, by the way, these are the 80 credit cards that I've been hiding from you for 20 years.
Obviously she didn't, because she's smart, and she's smart with her money.
Yes.
But even if she did, you know what you'd do?
You'd
be paying off debt right now.
I'm in love.
That's right. There's nothing you can do.
The heart wants what the heart wants, right? Forget what the wallet says.
You know what, honey?
But I will say this. be upfront about it. Have a conversation. Have a conversation that says, here's how we're going to tackle this over the course of the next whatever it's going to be.
And it's all about making a plan.
And again, you've doubled your resources, right? You've pooled your resources. Okay, now, and this, if you can do this, I mean, the gold standard is we bank one, we spend one, right?
Yeah.
Because your expenses aren't going to double, right? You're not going to be, and there's a lot of, we're going to move in to save expenses, right? There's that line, you run that by mom and dad, they love that, right?
Oh, no, we're going to live together.
No, this is
strictly for financial
It's a financial
reasons.
decision.
It's a financial
it's got nothing
agreement.
to do with all the obvious benefits. Not that, right? So that's fine. But that's legit. It's a different decision point than it was a million years ago. This is what we're doing. This is the game plan. And again, you can keep two separate sets of books until you actually walk down the aisle, right? But you've got 50 in your brokerage account, I've got 50 in my brokerage account,
right.
And when we actually get to that point, we're going to buy a place, we're all in, right? So let's go for it. You can set it up that way. The lawyer in me says we can set it up that way, and if it doesn't work out for any number of reasons, you can walk away and you can take you off 50 and you can take you off 50. We can set it up that way and get you on that path. But remember, you're joining forces. It's the money you're making at your first job out of school is not the rest of the money you're going to make for the rest of your life. It's going to move forward.
Hopefully. Yeah, let's hope.
Unless you become a lawyer. That's a different story.
That's as good as it's going to get, right? You
join
that big firm, and then you decide to go out on your own, and there you are.
And it's a smooth transition, and there's not a hiccup in your salary or anything like that.
It's just pick up right where you left
manna from
off.
heaven, baby. Yep, that's right. That's right.
All right, I think we're out of time.
47 minutes. We out of time?
We're out of time.
All right. So, but remember, all of this, you lived it. I can tell you right now firsthand, I lived it. Moved into the city, running and gunning.
I didn't move into the city.
Spending money like it was nobody's business, but also filling up my 401k. And then all this whole demographic, all my friends, they all bought condos, they all moved into apartments in the city, and they all had a kid, and everything was awesome because they all bought a 1.5 bedroom, right? And everything was great. And then all of a sudden, every open house you went to, it was dad, mom, a kid, and mom's ready to pop, another kid on the way, don't have room for the second, exodus out of the city, house in the burbs, and then wash, rinse, repeat, right? And so it's the same. And
then you're wringing your hands for the next 20 years about how you should have kept that Charlestown.
Oh, stop! Don't even get me started. That's another show.
Another story.
We're gonna have
all I hear about.
We're gonna have our financial regrets show.
Gorgeous house up in the woods, like right on the Holliston boundary, right there. I mean, for those of you who have never seen, it's gorgeous. A gorgeous place, gorgeous. Like it backs up to like the wilderness. Seriously, it's like the state of Montana.
Yep. I went from backing up to the bus line to backing up to the.
That's what you want, the bus line.
That's exactly right.
All right. We're all done. All right. So if you got any questions, like I said, moneyinthelaw.net. If anything you want to talk about, moneyinthelaw.net. I am John Droin from Main Effort Financial with my esteemed colleague Jay Marsden from the Marsden Law Group. We're here from Money in the Law on MyFM 101.3. We didn't mention Tom. Before the show, we actually got
great Tom McAuliffe.
Yep, Tom McAuliffe,
our leader, our mentor.
Did he hear that when we remember the big plug we gave a couple weeks ago?
That's why he came down. That's probably why he came down. He probably misses us.
Anyway, Tom, we haven't seen Tom in a while. It's good to see him. He came down. He made a point to sit down and talk to us.
He made our day.
He did.
He made our day.
Yeah, we were moaning and groaning about work. Tom comes in, we forgot all about it.
It's like a breath of fresh air blowing those dark clouds away. It's exactly what it's like.
All right, so it's good to see Tom. We'll see everybody next week on Money in the Law. 9 o'clock, join us, and on Holliston Cable Access TV, which is on I think they run it every other show, right? Pretty much.
12 out of 24. Send us your questions.
We'll see you next week.
Have a great week.